that they'll actually take some of their injured workers back to the nest and not revitalize them, but make them so that if they've lost only 2 legs, they can come back and still be a warrior ant. And some of these warrior ants, maybe not the injured ones, but all of the warrior ants in one colony are starting to take over other colonies. And one of the things that makes hurricanes would be the mass of ants that, like you had said, that have taken down cows and things like that, just through their mass of attack.
This is what kind of ant?
They didn't say what kind of ant it was.
Oh, yeah.
But they said there's some ants are attacking the other ants to get at their colonies more voracious now than they ever have before.
Oh, more aggressive.
Yeah.
They've developed more aggression in some of the
I think
ants.
they came up from Africa or something like that.
Oh, that's a problem. Is anymore the homogenization of ecosystems around the earth because of the introductions of all of these, non-native species, these exotic introduced species from all over the world. That's the sort of thing that, and what's going to happen to the ant that hasn't evolved with that kind of a situation. Yes.
So in the spring, I know when the bears are out because it seems that they come and they eat the anthills, one of their very first meals when they come out. But I lived for a couple of years in a place where I think the bears had just recently disappeared, and the anthill was taller than I am.
Wow.
And the ants, it was just insane, and you just felt like somebody needs to go out and be like a bear and knock them down a little bit. Is my theory correct that that's what happened?
Where was this? Around here?
The ants that I see eaten down are around here in Hunt Valley, but the anthill that was taller than me was in Chimacum. And I think they had just lost their bears not too long before.
What you're saying?
Chimacum is in by Port Townsend,
Oh, okay. On Western.
Western.
Yeah. And that's an anomaly that you've never seen an anthill around there.
I never saw
that
that
big. Yeah, it was ridiculously big for an anthill.
There's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's possible. I don't know, but that's very possible. It sure makes sense that could be a reason. Yeah, that they've lost their natural predator.
Yeah.
That sure makes sense. I don't know for sure, but what you're suggesting, yeah. Yes, in the back. Yeah.
Are you familiar with something that happened in Germany? If my remembrance is correct, that the German force, they were getting upset because of the number of anthills, so they went and started eradicating the anthills and noticed that the health of the forest started to decline. And someone decided that maybe we should reintroduce the ants, and when they did, the health of the forest improved. Is that something you're familiar with? And if so, does it happen with ants in our area?
I'm not familiar with it. It's very interesting because ants, one of their ecological services is turning over the soil. They're very important in keeping soil in condition. And also, of course, as predators. If this was a predatory ant, it sure makes a lot of sense that they would have, especially if there were that many of them. They may have played a really important role in forest health, and maybe that was their natural balance. For there to be an abundance of them in that particular forest. Yes, sir.
Where do termites fit into this picture?
Yeah, good question. Termites. Believe it or not, termites are more closely related to cockroaches. Yeah, found that out. Yeah. In fact, termites are included. They used to have be in their own order before the genetic DNA people started getting involved. And now they're lumped in one order with the cockroaches, the Blattodea. And before the Blattodea had just been cockroaches. So yeah, they're a type of cockroach that's become specialized in is a social insect. Now, just one little thing that I want to add as long as we're on termites. Unlike the ants, bees, wasps, and sawflies that have complete metamorphosis, in which the young go through a larval stage that looks very different from the adult, and then forms a pupa, like a cocoon, before becoming an adult. That's not the case with termites. When they hatch from the egg, they look like miniature unspecialized adults. And whether they become asexual or whether they become some type of a worker or some type of a specialized worker, it's very flexible in the early part of their development. It's like a flip of the coin of whichever they might become. But once they start on a certain strategy, after the first or second mold, when they shed their exoskeleton and grow a new one, then they're on a more determined trajectory. But early on, it's kind of up in the air whether they're going to become sexual or non-sexual, or and then what kind of non-sexual. So, and the reason that one of the reasons that that's a great thing for you to bring up, it's a really good example of parallel evolution, where things that are widely, not distant, very, very distantly related, virtually unrelated, have very, very similar solutions to a similar kind of life way. It's called parallel evolution. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've got a question. I have about a quarter-mile of dirt road, and I noticed just this summer that when I walk along it, there's a little hole about every 15 feet or so, a little hole where there's dirt pieces, like a little mound, and just every 15 feet for just 40, 50 yards. Are these like ant holes?
They could be. There could be a couple of things. They're very probably a type of ant. Yeah. But there's also something that is a hole right in the middle, and then there's all this little mound of dirt around it.
Yeah.
It could also be something called ant lion. And ant lions, they make a little, and then they're down in the bottom of it, and they're larvae of a type of flying insect. And they have these big sickle-like jaws. And so, what they're waiting for is something to slip on all of that loose sand that they have up there, and then they jump out and grab it and eat it. So it could be something like that.
So I'm wondering if these are connected, if there's a tunnel.
No,
No, okay.
no, they don't.
But it was like every 15 feet, there's one little hole.
Yeah,
It's a straight line.
yeah, I'm not sure. It could be one of those two things. I've seen ants make something similar, and I'm not sure what kind of an ant it is. Let's see, yes, in the back.
Yes, I have a friend that leaves every year in the wintertime, about 6 months. Dedicates, cleans out completely her freezer, but she says the bear tears it up in the spring when he's hungry. And she's thinking that the Freon in there smells or tastes like formic acid, because you mentioned vinegar. She thinks that maybe the bear thinks that Freon must be formic acid, therefore ants. Have you ever heard anything like that?
No, I haven't. And does Freon smell like formic acid?
Freon doesn't smell at all.
Okay.
Well, at least for humans.
Okay.
Well, bears are so smart. I mean, if they've had an experience of successfully busting into one person's freezer, they become a problem. I had one, when I was living in Keller, I was staying in a mobile home, and anyway, it was one cold October night, and 4 a.m, I heard this terrible crash, and I went running out, and the bear there was a window in my back door, and You know, in those mobile homes, the back doors are made out of styrofoam.
Yeah.
And anyway, it had reached its claws underneath it and wedged it out, that window. So, you know, there were all kinds of fresh bear tracks, but it scared itself, so it didn't make it in. But it knew how to pry, you know, and it had to learn that. Yeah, bears are quite smart. Let's see, was there somebody else over here? Yes.
Well, I had the same whole situation as he did,
Oh.
and I happened to be taking pictures when the wasp came in with the caterpillar to feed its young. So almost all of my holes along my dirt road were,
A bee.
you know, a wasp coming in feeding its young with a parasite sized caterpillar and lays an egg inside. Whatever it is that does that, that's what it was. Lots of
Okay.
them.
Was it a spider or was it a caterpillar?
No, it was a wasp bringing in a big old caterpillar.
A big old
Bigger
caterpillar.
than it was, and shoved it in that hole and covered up the hole.
Yeah, probably one of those pheasant wasps is related to that mud dauber wasp that I was showing earlier. There's Sphex is a species, a genus of wasp around here that does that. They live in the ground and feed their young. Yeah.
You
Yes.
mentioned oleic acid, and how it was related to a dead ant.
No, oleic acid, I'm not familiar. I gotta confess, I'm not familiar with oleic acid being involved with ants. Formic acid, I am.
That was the song.
It was in the
It
song.
was in the song because a couple
Oh,
of days,
okay.
a couple of days after the ant dies, then the oleic acid is released, and that so if you cover a live ant with oleic acid, the ant will mistake it for a dead ant. Just because that acid is there, it's like the signal that this ant has died, according to E.O. Wilson's research. I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is not my area of specialty.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, thanks for helping me with that. Yes.
Most people use the ants that close a wound sometimes. They let the ant pinch them, pick it up the head, and then they go down where the cut is.
Really? I never heard of that.
Yeah, they hold it close with their fingers. When they bite the skin, they twist it off, and keep on doing that, and it keeps the wound closed.
Wow, amazing. Like staples. Wow.
We
Did
couldn't
everybody hear that?
hear that back here.
Anyway, there's some people, you know, is that around here? In another country? Oh, okay. Man, in the tropics, you just don't know. But this lady was saying there's some country where, you know, if you get a cut, like a serious cut, there's a type of ant, and you'll let that ant bite both sides of, you know, where the skin around the cut, and then it clamps its jaws over the wound, and you just twist its head off, and then you find another ant and keep doing the same thing. So, man, in the tropics, anything's possible. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, this spring, when the water level was really high, I caught a mouse and I threw it out in my flower bed. And I came back so many hours later, and dirt was starting to come up around this mouse. And as I watched it in the next few days, it was ants.
Yeah.
He totally buried this mouse, and then over, I can't remember how many days, it's just like they pulled it down or ate it and just kind of leveled out.
Oh, darn.
But I didn't see it later as the soil dried out more, because the water level was really high. I thought the ants were working the tops more, or
Yeah.
working up higher. The same flower bed I put a mouse in, and the ants didn't come to get it. So the crows did.
Yeah.
There's some
Yeah,
kind
no,
of,
that's a new one to me.
there's some
but-
kind of a beetle.
Carrying
that-
me.
Yeah,
Like that same.
that's it, yeah. There's a beetle that will bury something like a dead.
Is it as small as an ant?
But what is it called, carrion
Carrying.
beetle?
But, yeah, that's what I was thinking when you first started describing the thing being pulled down into the ground. That's right, something called a carrion beetle that, and actually they'll work in teams, and they have all kinds of strategies for burying, animals and then, feeding their young underground on this critter. And it could be that what you were saying was ants that were also trying to take advantage of this situation while it was still above ground so that's very interesting. Yeah, thank you for that tip. Sure. Yeah.
In Julie's song, she mentioned ants living 30 years old. What can you tell us about longevity of particular ants?
Is Julie? Oh, yeah. Is that right, Julie?
So I'm not an ant expert. I was just reading about the lifespan of ants, and it can vary it can be very short, like Joe talked about the males, and they can live for days or weeks, but there were certain species where ants have been documented to live up to 28 and a half years, or even up to 30 years, and it's like really particular species, not like all ants in general.
Interesting. Yeah. See, it's amazing when Julie's been reading. She's been doing
So we have a lot of really interesting questions. I think that if you have more questions, would you be available afterward, Joe, to talk to people if they want to come?
I'd like to. Thanks,
Okay,
Julie.
that'd be great. So I'd like to maybe make a few announcements and wrap things up. And if you have more